Hey guys, this is going to be my new segment called Obscene Nerdery. I love the sound of it, and I think it's kind of a play on words with the Captain Profanity username, so let's go with it and see how it runs. So, in this segment, I'm going to basically nerd out, geek out on anything that I think is super awesome and cool, and I'm going to tell you all about everything that I want to talk about when it comes to being a nerd. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is going to be D&D. So the next few segments is going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Remember, that's D and D, not D and D, because D and D just looks sad. Anyway, so to start off talking about D&D, I want to be able to explain every facet of it and why it's so important to me. But I have to classify it first, and I have to classify that as a role-playing game. And before I can get into role-playing games, I need to first tell you about role-playing in general. So to start off with, role-playing is something that is integrated into our lives. And if you don't know what role-playing is, or role-playing games, or what Dungeons & Dragons is in the first place, this is a good place to start with, because I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. So first off, role-playing. Like I said, it's integrated into our lives, and it's something we do as a child without even knowing what role-playing actually means. Role-playing, simply put, is that you're putting yourself in a role. You are pretending to be a character, a person, a whatever you're going to pretend to be, and you're going to act as if you were that person, not as if you were yourself in that situation. For instance, some of the things we do as children is we role-play with, playing tea sets and stuff like that, and having little tea parties as kids. You see it in the movies. People do that. And they even have this really great scene where they're doing the teacup stuff with Despicable Me. It's really super adorable and everything, and I love it. Another thing we do speaks more to the boys in comparison to the girls. We also play like Power Rangers. I used to do that. We used to play Power Rangers in the front yard. We'd be like, oh, I'm the Red Ranger, I'm the Green Ranger. Okay, we never actually did that. We just kind of hit each other with swords. But that's what we did. It was cool. We also used to play with all of our action figures, our toys, and we would act as if we were this person, and Superman comes in and blah, 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 and Batman does this, whatever. I did it with Legos. Legos was my big thing. I had my Legos, I'd build my thing, I'd build my spaceship, and we would shoot monsters and stuff like that with my brothers. And that's what we did. But that's a basic form of role-playing. We do it as kids. We are pretending to be these superheroes. We're pretending to be princesses. We're pretending to be something. So that in itself is role-playing. Now I know a lot of people out there think of role-playing as a innately sexual thing. Because, role-playing in the bedroom, I'm going to be a big black guy this time, and you're going to be a little milkmaid, or something like that. That's a type of role-playing, but it's definitely different than what kids do, and what you do in Dungeons and Dragons, and other tabletop role-playing games, or just role-playing games in general. So, another form, and you also have different types of role-playing, some that are used for medicinal purposes. Not necessarily medicinal in the cure your illnesses type, but cure your mind. We use it in psychology to be able to express feelings in different ways and be able to process emotions and be able to process thoughts by putting ourselves in each other's shoes. By putting ourselves into another person's shoes, we're able to help our brain imagine what it's like to be that person, and thus expanding our knowledge of what we understand of that situation. And it's a tool for us to become smarter. So far we've got what role-playing actually means is, as we're kids, it helps us expand our imagination, and it helps us create these stories for us to enjoy. And we can also use it in psychology to be able to broaden our minds and be able to delve deeper into critical thinking. So that's the basics of what role-playing is in general. And putting it into a game allows us to delve deeper into the storyline of a game and to be able to understand our characters more. And it's not just Mario hopping over some barrels and rescuing a damsel in distress and beating up a monkey. I mean, while Donkey Kong is a fantastic game, it certainly doesn't have the deep role-playing aspects that you would get from, say, like a Neverwinter Nights game or Skyrim or any of the Elder Scrolls games in general. There's so many other types of role-playing things out there that you can delve into a story and delve into a character and really immerse yourself into what it means to be in the world created by that storyteller, by the game creator, the game designer. Now, Dungeons and Dragons and other types of tabletop role-playing games allows us as a medium to be able to present this story in a personal contact level and be able to share in this method of being able to make a story. And it's come a little bit of a complicated saying, but in sense, role-playing games are interactive storytelling. By giving what game designers do when they make role-playing games like Skyrim or Final Fantasy games or things like that, of that nature, it gives you options to progress through the game, to be able to, if you were in this person's shoes, what would you do in that situation? Now, there are some games that are role-playing games that are still very linear. They don't stray from a certain path very much. It makes it to where if you were going to be in this situation, you have the choice of using the specific types of attacks and doing these specific things in a battle situation. But still, it's important for you to still go to this town and complete the storyline quests and blah blah blah. All those things that modern gamers know from role-playing games of that sort. Whereas in Skyrim, it branches out a lot more. Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, all the Elder Scroll games, as far as I know. I never really played anything before Morrowind, so I'm not exactly the best to know anything before Elder Scrolls 3. That said, Elder Scrolls 3, 4, and 5, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, those types of games give you a much broader range of things that you can do. In fact, you just have a starting point and a general overview of what the storyline is going to be, but it's full of side quests and other things that you can do as your character. If you want to simply just steal from people, you can do that. If you want to simply go around and kill things, you can do that. You can do a lot of different things in those games, and it becomes this role-playing aspect of creating your own story. Now, Dungeons and Dragons, on the other hand, it allows for that as well. I'll go into more detail about what module gaming is, and I'm going to be talking more about my own personal gaming style, which I call freebase gaming, and we'll continue going in depth on what Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming really means. But I wanted to preface with what role-playing is. Role-playing is simply putting yourself in a situation where you are going to act outside of your own personal character, and you're going to pretend to be someone else. Now, in role-playing games, we use this as a storytelling method. In psychology, we use it as a way of understanding each other. And as kids, we do it to simply have fun. And that's really what it is. And I think that role-playing games allow us to, in the right mediums, mix all of these. I mean, if you were to talk to someone who knows Dungeons and Dragons or tabletop role-playing very well, they would be able to express it in a complicated way. I mean, it's always hard for me to say these types of things, but let me break it down for you. The easiest way to describe Dungeons and Dragons is if you were to be playing your Power Rangers and superheroes while sitting down for tea with a princess, all the while playing chess. Like as if every single one of those chess pieces was different superheroes and princesses and monsters and magic and blah 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 and all that. All with the complication of how complicated chess is. and all the strategy involved with that. I think that's a little bit of an information overload, so I'm going to stop it right there, and we're going to continue next time. And next time we're going to go more into what I love about Dungeons & Dragons. Until then, I'll see you later, people.